Latest developments in Ukraine, disastrous. First of all, we have a new leader. We're going to have former economy minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk, who's going to come in to lead the transitional government in Ukraine. That's not bad news. What is bad news is armed men have seized the parliament building in Ukraine's Crimea region and raised the Russian flag on top of it. Let me show you where Crimea is. It's, of course, close to Russia, which makes sense. But more importantly, it is the only area in the Ukraine that is majority ethnically Russian. Okay, so when people went to protest there, they started chanting Russia, Russia. In fact, let me show it to you in the original Russian. So there's at least 50 to 60 guys that took over the parliament building with guns. There's those guys outside that are in favor of Russia. Then there's another 100 Ukrainian cops who are against those guys. They're also in the streets. And then there are guys who are going around with black and orange ribbons. That's the Russian symbol for victory in World War II. And they're now screaming, Crimea is Russia. This does not bode well. People in the area saying that the takeover happened in a way that was very professional and that they seemed very organized. These was not amateur guys who were like, I don't know, let's take over the parliament building. So if it's organized, could it be Russian-backed? Of course, that's the concerns. The Russians are now in the middle of doing new military exercises there. They've mobilized 150,000 troops in the area, and the jets are literally in the air. Crimean Prime Minister Anatoly Mogulev tried to negotiate with the gunmen, but the gunmen said they were not authorized to negotiate with him, meaning that there was someone higher up that's organizing this, okay? Like I said, 90 fighter jets are in the air now on combat alert, and they're patrolling the border in the Ukraine. And by the way, the Russians have their Black Sea fleet on the Crimean peninsula in southeastern Ukraine. Obviously, that's what they say they're going to protect. Now, what's our reaction to this? Secretary of State John Kerry says if the Russians make a move into Ukraine, it would be, quote, a grave mistake. And then Reuters explains, Alexander Turchinov, who stepped in as acting president after Yanukovych's flight, condemned the takeover of the government buildings in Crimea as a crime against the government of Ukraine. Now, he's going to give way to Arseniy Yatsenyuk in a little bit, but he went on to say he warned that any move by the Russian troops off of their base in Crimea will be considered military aggression. Continuing with the interim president, I have given orders to the military to use all methods necessary to protect the citizens, punish the criminals, and to free the buildings. So if you've got all these people, hundreds of people outside on both sides, and then the guys inside have heavy weaponry, and the Ukrainian military/police also come in with heavy weaponry, we've got an imminent disaster in Ukraine, and the Russians have the tanks on the borders ready to go. What are they looking for? They're looking for an excuse to say, oh, we have to protect our people, we have to protect our naval base over there. We jump in it. Oh boy. And then nearby leaders are also animated. The Polish foreign minister, Radosław Sikorski, called the seizure of the government buildings in Crimea, quote, a very dangerous game. He went on to say, this is a drastic step, and I'm warning those who did this and those who allowed them to do this, because this is how regional conflicts begin. So now we have the Polish government saying it's not just going to be a conflict in Crimea or in the Ukraine, it might also be a regional conflict. Disaster continues. Reuters explains Yanukovych issued a statement on Thursday declaring he was still president of Ukraine and warning its illegitimate rulers that people in the southeastern and southern regions would never accept mob rule. So he's now saying, hey, you know what? I'm in Russia over here. You're illegitimate and I'm coming back. He says, quote, I have to ask Russia to ensure my personal safety from the extremists. So Yanukovych is out there claiming he's the real president of Ukraine. He's now in Russia. Now, meanwhile, we have an acting president of Ukraine, and he's saying that what the Russia, at least ethnically Russian and perhaps actually orchestrated by Russia itself, the takeover of the parliament building is military aggression, and he will respond likewise. Man, trouble's brewing. And meanwhile, Arseniy Yatsenyuk, who's going to come in to lead the country soon, says the state treasury has been robbed and is empty. Now, here's the amount that they think Yanukovych stole from Ukraine. $70 billion. They say that he moved that amount of money out of the Ukrainian treasury and into foreign accounts. Now, we don't know the veracity of that yet, but even if a fraction of that is true, that is gigantic, unprecedented theft. I mean, Ukraine right now needs a huge loan, $15 to $35 billion. Well, that would be twice as much as the $35 billion number. So I don't think the Ukrainians are going to back off of trying to pursue Yanukovych on legal grounds, and it doesn't appear Yanukovych and the Russians are going to back down either. So that's when things are in real bad shape, and that's where we are right now.